It's your latest winter storm briefing for Central North Carolina, this 23rd of January. And the slide time up there says 1:48, but that's the last time we updated the slides. They're still pretty valid. There are a few changes we'll be making later this morning, but clearly it's 9:30 this morning. And one thing that our forecasters are working on is they are collaborating with the neighboring offices to our west to basically upgrade the winter storm watch to a winter storm warning. And basically, I think it's essentially going to be the western kind of triad, western Piedmont counties first to be upgraded, and then maybe later today we do more upgrades further east. So today's kind of the day we're going to be rolling out the winter storm warnings. So you know, as soon as the graphics are made and we get it all presentation ready, then I'll update these slides. That's why I haven't updated them yet. I didn't want to update them before our presentation and then suddenly have to something change. So as soon as that a warning is issued, I will update these slides and send them out to you. And they'll be available on our website as well for those who are not on our email list. All right. So let's see. Let me switch over real quick to my other screen. Yeah, Jenny, I apologize. It says audio's bad. Yeah, it could be bandwidth issues. There are over 300 people who are watching this right now, kind of connected. So it just could be perhaps a bandwidth. Others are saying the sound is good. So you know, it could be bandwidth issues on your end or mine. So again, apologize for those who might be having trouble hearing. Of course, I will try to get this on YouTube if the technology if the technology gods allow it. So anyway, yeah, what am I showing here now? I'm showing satellite temperatures and radar. Let me remove the satellite, and this is just some light rain that's coming in ahead of the cold front that's moving. You can see all the cold air up to our north and west, and as that cold air continues to ooze into our area, you know, that sets the stage for some light rain ahead of it. Essentially, the big storm system, you know, hasn't really even taken shape yet in terms of something I could look at on radar and say that this batch or that batch is headed our way. It's more like it's going to evolve to our southwest. So anyway, just keep that in mind. If you're looking at the current satellite radar and whatnot and saying, hey, I don't see anything to our southwest, what's going on? So anyway, that's what's going on there. Let me switch back. That I want to show, and this is more timing. This is more a timing graphic. Now, I will say, obviously, don't take this verbatim. This is a very, very rough approximation. And when I say rough, I mean very coarse. You know, there's a lot of details that may or may not be, you know, perfect or accurate with this, but it's just to give you a very, you know, 50,000 foot view of timing and possible precip types, okay? And let's face it, I mean, the models don't always do well with precip types, and this is model data, so please don't hold me to this. This is just to give you a very rough idea. So I just want to put that caveat out there right now. So by 1 p.m. Saturday, dry still across the state. That's been the change, a little later. 4 p.m. still mostly dry, except in the mountains. And then finally, look how it evolves. That's why I was talking about just a moment ago. It just sort of develops. And by 7 p.m. Saturday, we should have snow maybe across the Virginia border counties, sleet further south, and then rain at the coast. And then it just continues to blossom and develop as we head through 10 p.m. Saturday. Sleet across much of central North Carolina, the southern half anyway. You know, it was interesting how this model, believe it or not, is hanging on to the snow a little longer than it was hanging on to the snow yesterday. That's interesting. But I still think, and this is very climatological, honestly. This storm is you know, it's actually going back to the way you climatologically would expect it in terms of precip type distributions, where snow hangs on longest along and north of I-85, and then things switch over and mix with different precip types south of 85. But even north of 85, eventually overnight into Sunday morning, it's going to even change to sleet there. And really, sleet everywhere falling across central North Carolina, with the exception of maybe the southern I-95 corridor up towards Smithfield and Johnston County, where it could change to freezing rain before daybreak on Sunday. And then that pattern just holds Sunday morning. Now, one thing I really want to emphasize here is that this is what the type would be if it's precipitating. This will not be a steady, heavy precip as at these time frames. It's going to be very light in some spots. It might be heavier in other spots. So when you look at this, don't make the assumption that this is falling at some kind of rapid or heavy rate. Okay, it could be in some spots, but this is just to give you an idea of where it could be precipitating and what types. There's nothing in here that talks about intensity. Okay, so keep that in mind. In fact, you even see gaps there. Look at that one over Charlotte developing by 10 a.m. Sunday, and some gaps in other places. So, but the bottom line here is across central North Carolina, this is mostly a sleet and freezing rain event. Notice though, what caught my eye is how far west this transition to rain makes it. Certainly as far west as the Highway 17 corridor in the coastal region. But there are some warmer models than this. There are models warmer than this that take it all the way back to I-95 during the afternoon Sunday. So, in the warmest scenario, folks east of I-95 could see, a changeover to rain. Okay, and again, if you looked at all the past storms that ever affect us, those are the parts of the state that traditionally do change over to rain the fastest with this type of pattern. So again, very kind of behaving very climatologically. Okay, look at the one thing I want to catch your attention is, even though we're sleet and freezing rain across much of central North Carolina still by Sunday afternoon, the precip rates are going to be very light. There are some models, many models out there that show almost nothing happening during the afternoon and early evening hours. Okay, so this model is actually pretty generous in terms of something actually even occurring. So, so I just want to point that out, that again, I can't emphasize it enough. Although I'm showing oranges and reds here, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be, falling heavy or even steady for that matter. And look, by 7 p.m., I mean, it's pretty much at this point in time, this particular model is dry, nothing happening, east of Raleigh, east of Charlotte, south of Raleigh, from basically the Raleigh metro area, south and eastward and east of Charlotte. So, the bottom line is I think our best opportunity for precip is going to be late tomorrow night, picking up an intensity during the overnight hours, maybe moderate intensity straight through daybreak Sunday, maybe even into 9, 10 o'clock Sunday. And then after 10 o'clock, I wouldn't really count on anything heavy falling. Okay, there might be, like I said, pockets of precip, but I think, the amount of precip falling on Sunday is going to be much less than the amount of precip falling late Saturday night. Okay, so keep that in mind. And then finally, the last push of precip associated with the back end of the storm and the cold front will move across late Sunday night. Okay, and then finally by shortly after midnight, we're getting such vigorous warming. Now, I do want to point out that what's driving this is basically a cold front on the back end of these storm systems. Okay, so it's cold here. Well, what's on the other side of a cold front? It's warm. And what happens on the front end of a cold front? The wind is from the south, and that's why it's warming up so vigorously late in the event, is because as this system is the entire system, the low pressure is exiting, the wind wrapping around the back side of it is basically, in a way that is, it's a cold front basically. That's the setup. We've got a cold front, and this is no different than any other cold front any other time of the year. There's your front where it's cold and there's cold air pouring in, and ahead of that cold air, the wind is from the south, so then it gets really warm ahead of it. So again, really, this really isn't a surprise. So if you're wondering, well, wait a minute, where's all this warm air coming from? I didn't think it was going to warm up like this at all during the event. Well, yeah, because it's a cold front, and it always warms up ahead of a cold front. Okay, that's why it was warm. That's why it was warm last night. Did we get below freezing last night? I don't think we did. We stayed in the 30s, right? Yeah. I mean, that's why we had a relatively warm night last night, right? Because today we're ahead of the cold front. So anyway, that said, let me back up to 10 p.m. Sunday. It's possible, again, let me draw that cold front. That cold front's going to be right here at 10 p.m. And what's going to happen ahead of that cold front? You guessed it, warming up. So it's quite possible that this rain snow line might be, not rain snow, scratch that, rain, freezing rain. Sorry, might actually be more like this, okay, in a warmer model solution. It would not surprise me if this rain, freezing rain line is further north, okay? So again, one more time, here's the front, here's the warm air out ahead of it. It's possible that this line right here is more like this. So if as far north as Raleigh, maybe Chapel Hill, maybe Siler City, Albemarle, it could be just raining, okay? Now that said, if all these areas here change to just rain for the end of it, okay, it really probably doesn't make a difference in terms of impacts, because the freezing rain would have already fallen throughout the day, and Saturday night and through the early part of Sunday. So there, even if all this does change to rain, if as far north as the Triangle region down toward Albemarle, there's any power outages would have probably already occurred with down trees and so forth. So keep that in mind. All right. Let me make one other point, is that there could be, because this is a cold front and there's vigorous lift, and there could be even some embedded elevated thunderstorms. I mean, if you heard a clap of thunder as this batch of rain is moving through, don't be surprised. But if it's able to produce thunder, it's certainly able to produce some heavy downpours. So it's not out of the question that locations Sunday night, when this is moving through, south and east of Raleigh, could get into some really heavy downpours, which would really be beneficial, because if those areas south and east of Raleigh saw freezing rain, well, then maybe that rain at the very end of the event might help kind of wash away some of that ice. So that's certainly a possibility among the range of possibilities here. Okay. All right. And then essentially here's 4 a.m., 7 a.m. Monday, it's gone. And then the sun comes out and we melt the freezing rain, ice accumulation. Okay. All right. All right. So this is our expected snowfall and worst case scenario snowfall. But again, I mentioned this yesterday, I want to reiterate it. These numbers include both snow and sleet. So south of Interstate 85, a big component of these numbers that you see is sleet, okay? South of 85, you almost can consider, just more or less consider those numbers you see being comprised of mostly sleet, okay? So just want to point that out. But here's the bigger deal, if you will, is how much ice we have in our forecast. You can see that swath, just, essentially all of central North Carolina will have impactful ice. In the worst case scenario, you can see on the right, if that worst case scenario happens, then yeah, clearly there's going to be more power outages, more widespread, more prolonged, more long lasting impacts for several days in terms of power outages, tree damage, and travel impacts. So that goes without saying. Okay, so that's what we should probably be preparing for. If you're the type of person that prepares for the worst case, then definitely look at those numbers there on the right and assume that that's could produce a lot of power outages, a lot of down trees. And also as you're going doing your prep for this storm, walk around your property, take note of any limbs that might be leaning or ready to fall. If you have the ability to remove those leaning limbs, or if you can't, hire somebody to clean up any dead trees that might potentially fall on your home or your business. If you have dead trees near your home and that sort of thing, that's probably what I already did that. And I have one limb that's way up there that is actually broken and just dangling. And I don't know how I'm going to get that down, but it's just one limb. But fortunately, it's far enough away from my house that I don't have to worry about it. But if you have any that are close to your house, definitely that's one thing that you might consider doing is making sure remove any objects that could fall and hit your home. All right. So temperatures. These are low temperatures Saturday morning. There's afternoon high temperatures Saturday. So clearly, obviously cold enough for those precip types I indicated. Still cold Sunday morning. And then notice how it warms up Sunday afternoon east of I-95. And again, that's coincident with that rain transition that I talked about. So, you know, if we hit 34 in Raleigh, then yeah, it's going to be rain. So yeah, we could see at the very end. This is right before the front moves through. Keep in mind, these aren't afternoon highs. These are more likely later in the day, right before the front comes through, where we get that last push of warm air ahead of the front. So yeah, this would suggest that, you know, there could be rain as far west as Roanoke Rapids, Raleigh, Sanford, Albemarle. Could change the rain. All right, now once that cold front pushes through, then the cold air is gonna filter back in. We will have wall-to-wall sunshine on Monday, so that's why we're gonna rebound into the 30s. But look at those low temperatures Tuesday morning. So, you know, single digits with wind chill values that are even below 0. So, and those numbers are coincident with the area that we expect to have the greatest number of power outages. So just keep that in mind, okay? Those coldest values are where we think the greatest amount of ice will accumulate. So, so it's going to be really cold and people are going to be without power. So make sure, again, if you live in those areas, actually anywhere across central North Carolina, quite frankly, you know, even if there was, it's going to be cold even if we had power. So anyway, make sure, you know, you've got everything you need to survive this. Okay. All right. What else? Let's jump back over to the slides we emailed. All right. We already talked about all this, so I'll let you read this on your own. We talked about this. We talked about this. But we tried earlier to break out the sleet. I'll try to do this again for the updated, but this is, we have a way internally in our system to separate out sleet from snow and put that on a map. So, you know, 2 to 3 inches of sleet, that's pretty impressive up in the triad. So, so these are sleet numbers, okay? Pretty notable. You know, our winter storm warning criteria for sleet is a 1/2 inch or more. So, so anyway, that's why we're hitting that winter storm warning first across the triad in our western zones, because you know, it's going to come in sooner there, and it just makes sense, right? Eventually, I'm sure that warning will expand further east. Has the warning been actually issued yet?
We issued it.
Okay, so my colleague here who pressed the button to transmit it says the warning is already out. So, we will show that and display that before we wrap up here. Again, temperatures I already talked about. Wind chills, again, you know, I mean, these are, again, I can't emphasize this enough. The lowest values are going to be where people are most likely going to not have power. All right. And the timeline, notice a couple things I'll point out. This is, a lot of this I've already conveyed with the storm timing. Travel hazards, look how they extend into Monday. Black ice will continue to be an issue the next subsequent nights, early next week. You know, power outages could be potentially prolonged. You see how long that runs out, and the cold. So, so anyway, that's what we've got in terms of timing. There's nothing here has changed. I've elaborated this already. And yeah, so that's what I've got for my prepared slides.